You know, there's something I've been hearing a lot from folks over 60 lately, little moments of forgetfulness, that feeling of mental fog, or just not being as sharp as they used to be. And it's easy to chalk it up to just getting older, but what if I told you that one of the biggest culprits isn't age at all? It's something you're probably eating every single day without even realizing the damage it's doing to your brain. That's right, today, we're talking about the number one worst food for your brain after 60. And trust me, this isn't about scaring you or making you feel guilty. It's about giving you the knowledge to make simple, powerful changes so you can stay sharp, focused, and full of energy for years to come. Because your golden years should be about living well, not worrying about your memory fading. So, what is this sneaky food that's sabotaging your brain health? Well, before we get to that, let's talk about why this matters so much. After 60, our brains go through natural changes, things slow down a bit, and we might not process information as quickly as we once did. But here's the thing, what we eat plays a huge role in either speeding up the decline or slowing it down. Some foods actually protect your brain, while others, well, they do the opposite. Now, you might be thinking, is it sugar? I've heard sugar is bad for the brain. And you're absolutely right, sugar is a problem. But the number one worst offender is something even more common, something that's hiding in so many of our favorite foods. It's processed vegetable oils, things like soybean oil, corn oil, and canola oil. You'll find them in salad dressings, packaged snacks, fried foods, and even some so-called healthy options. Why are these oils so bad for your brain? Well, let's break it down. These oils are loaded with omega-6 fatty acids, which, in small amounts, aren't necessarily harmful. But here's the catch, most of us are getting way too much omega-6 and not nearly enough omega-3s, the good fats found in fish, walnuts, and flax seeds. This imbalance creates inflammation in the body, and guess what? Your brain hates inflammation. It can lead to memory problems, slower thinking, and even increase the risk of dementia over time. And it's not just about the oils themselves, it's how they're processed. These oils are often heated to extreme temperatures, which creates harmful compounds that can damage your brain cells. Think about it, if you're frying foods in these oils or eating packaged foods made with them, you're essentially feeding your brain something that makes it harder to function at its best. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I've been using these oils for years, how do I even avoid them? Don't worry, we'll get to that. But first, let's talk about another reason these oils are so harmful, they're often hiding in foods you'd never suspect. Take restaurant meals, for example. Most places use these cheap oils because they're inexpensive and have a long shelf life. Even foods that seem healthy, like grilled chicken or a veggie stir-fry, might be cooked in soybean or corn oil unless you specifically ask. So, what can you do about it? Well, the first step is awareness. Start checking labels when you're at the grocery store. If you see soybean oil, corn oil, or vegetable oil listed in the ingredients, try to find an alternative. Look for healthier fats like olive oil, avocado oil, or even butter. Yes, real butter in moderation is better than these processed oils. And when you're eating out, don't be afraid to ask how the food is prepared. Most restaurants are happy to accommodate. Now, let's talk about another big offender when it comes to brain health, and this one might surprise you. It's not just about what you're eating, but what you're drinking. And no, I'm not talking about alcohol, though that's a topic for another day. I'm talking about sugary drinks, sodas, sweet teas, even fruit juices that are marketed as healthy but are packed with sugar. You see, your brain runs on glucose, it needs sugar to function. But too much sugar, especially in liquid form, floods your system and leads to spikes and crashes in blood sugar. Over time, this can damage your brain cells and make it harder to focus, remember things, or even regulate your mood. And if you're drinking these sugary beverages regularly, you're setting yourself up for bigger problems down the road. But here's the good news, cutting back doesn't have to be hard. Start by swapping one sugary drink a day for something better, water with a slice of lemon, herbal tea, or even sparkling water with a splash of real fruit juice. Small changes add up, and your brain will thank you for it. Now, before we go any further, I want you to take a moment and think about your own diet. Are there foods or drinks you're having every day that might be hurting your brain without you realizing it? Maybe it's that daily soda or the packaged cookies you enjoy with your tea. Whatever it is, know this: you're not alone, and making changes doesn't mean giving up everything you love. It's about making smarter choices, one step at a time. And speaking of steps, let's talk about one more big brain-damaging food that's probably in your kitchen right now. It's something many of us grew up eating, thinking it was healthy, but science has shown us otherwise. We'll dive into that next, because once you know what it is, you'll never look at your pantry the same way again. You might remember back in the day when margarine was all the rage, advertised as this heart-healthy alternative to butter. Well, here's the truth: one of the worst things you can eat for your brain after 60 is anything with trans fats, and margarine used to be loaded with them. Even though many brands have phased out trans fats due to health concerns, they still sneak into our diets in other ways, especially in processed baked goods, fried foods, and even some coffee creamers. Trans fats are like the ultimate enemy of your brain. They don't just raise bad cholesterol, they actually damage the delicate membranes of your brain cells, making it harder for them to communicate with each other. Think of it like putting sludge in the engine of a car. It might run for a while, but over time, things start breaking down. Studies have even linked high trans fat consumption to a higher risk of Alzheimer's and memory decline. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but the label says 0 grams trans fat. Doesn't that mean it's safe? Unfortunately, no. Food companies are allowed to say 0 grams if the product contains less than half a gram per serving. But here's the catch: if you eat multiple servings, and let's be honest, who stops at just one cookie or a single serving of chips, those tiny amounts add up fast. So, how do you spot trans fats when they're hiding in plain sight? Check the ingredients list for the words partially hydrogenated oil. That's just a fancy term for trans fats, and if you see it, put that product right back on the shelf. Instead, reach for whole, natural fats like real butter, coconut oil, or olive oil. Your brain will function so much better when you fuel it with the good stuff. Now, let's talk about another brain-draining food that's probably sitting in your pantry right now: white bread and refined grains. You know, the fluffy white sandwich bread, crackers, pastries, and even white rice that have been stripped of all their natural fiber and nutrients. These refined carbs might taste good, but they act almost like sugar in your body, spiking your blood glucose levels and leaving your brain in a fog. Here's why that's a problem. When your blood sugar spikes and crashes, your brain doesn't get the steady energy it needs to stay sharp. Instead, you might feel tired, forgetful, or even a little irritable after eating them. And over time, a diet high in refined grains has been linked to a higher risk of cognitive decline. But don't worry, you don't have to give up bread or grains entirely. Just swap the refined stuff for whole grains like whole wheat, oats, quinoa, or brown rice. These keep your blood sugar stable and provide your brain with the long-lasting energy it craves. And if you're used to white bread, try making the switch gradually. Maybe start with whole wheat toast in the morning, and before you know it, your taste buds will adjust. Now, here's something else that might surprise you. Processed meats like bacon, hot dogs, deli slices, and sausages can also be rough on your brain. I know, bacon is delicious, and a ham sandwich is a quick lunch. But here's the issue: these meats are often loaded with preservatives like nitrates and nitrites, which can cause inflammation in the brain. Some studies have even found a link between processed meats and a higher risk of dementia. Does that mean you can never enjoy bacon again? Not necessarily, but it does mean being mindful of how much and how often you eat it. Instead of making processed meats a daily habit, try swapping them out a few times a week for fresher options like grilled chicken, turkey, or even plant-based proteins like beans and lentils. Your brain and your heart will thank you. And while we're on the topic of protein, let's talk about one more brain-damaging food that's often overlooked: artificial sweeteners. You might think you're doing yourself a favor by choosing diet soda or sugar-free snacks, but research suggests that artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose might actually hurt your brain more than help. Some studies have found that they can disrupt the balance of good bacteria in your gut, and since your gut and brain are directly connected, they call it the gut-brain axis, that can lead to mood swings, memory issues, and even increased anxiety over time. If you've been relying on artificial sweeteners to cut back on sugar, try switching to natural options like a little raw honey, pure maple syrup, or even just reducing sugar gradually. Your taste buds will adjust, and your brain will function much better without those chemical sweeteners messing with your system. Now, I know this might feel like a lot to take in: processed oils, trans fats, refined grains, processed meats, artificial sweeteners. It seems like half the grocery store is off limits. But here's the good news: every small change you make adds up. You don't have to overhaul your diet overnight. Maybe this week, you start by swapping out margarine for real butter. Next week, you try whole grain bread instead of white. Small steps lead to big results. And here's something important to remember: this isn't about perfection. It's about progress. If you slip up and have a hot dog at a barbecue or a slice of white bread with your soup, don't beat yourself up. Just get back on track with your next meal. Your brain is resilient, and every healthy choice you make helps protect it. Now, let's talk about one last food that's silently harming your brain, one that you might not even realize is causing problems until it's too late. This one is tricky because it's in so many foods, even ones that seem healthy. But once you know what to look for, you'll be able to make smarter choices and keep your mind sharp for years to come. Let me ask you something. Have you ever eaten a meal and then, about an hour later, felt like your brain just shut down? Like you hit a wall of fatigue and couldn't think straight? Well, there's a good chance that meal contained excess salt, and I'm not just talking about the salt you sprinkle on your food. The real danger is hidden sodium in processed and packaged foods. Now, a little salt is fine, our bodies actually need it. But after 60, our kidneys don't process sodium as efficiently, and too much of it can lead to high blood pressure. And here's the brain connection: high blood pressure restricts blood flow to your brain, which means less oxygen and nutrients getting to those precious brain cells. Over time, that can speed up memory loss and even increase the risk of strokes. The tricky part? Sodium hides in places you wouldn't expect: canned soups, frozen dinners, salad dressings, even breakfast cereals. A single serving of some canned soups can have nearly your entire day's worth of sodium. So what's the solution? Start reading labels and aim for low-sodium versions when possible. Better yet, cook more meals at home where you control the salt. And here's a great trick: boost flavor with herbs, spices, lemon juice, or garlic instead of always reaching for the salt shaker. Your taste buds will adjust faster than you think. Now, let's talk about something that might seem completely harmless, maybe even healthy. Diet foods, those low-fat, sugar-free, or light versions of your favorite products. Here's the truth: when companies remove fat or sugar from foods, they often replace them with chemicals, artificial thickeners, or extra sodium to make up for the lost flavor. And your brain? It doesn't recognize these fake ingredients. It needs real, whole foods to function at its best. Take low-fat yogurt, for example. Many brands remove the healthy natural fats but add piles of sugar or artificial sweeteners to compensate. But your brain thrives on good fats. They're essential for building brain cells and protecting your memory. So instead of reaching for highly processed diet foods, choose the real version in moderation. Full-fat plain yogurt with some fresh berries? That's brain food. Here's something really important I want you to remember: none of this is about deprivation. It's about upgrading. You're not losing foods, you're gaining better health, clearer thinking, and more energy. And the beautiful thing? Every positive change you make creates a ripple effect. When you cut back on processed oils, your joints might hurt less. When you reduce hidden sodium, you might sleep better. When you choose whole foods over artificial diet products, your mood might improve. Your whole body benefits when you feed your brain well. Now, let's put this all together with one simple strategy that makes all the difference: the outer ring rule. Next time you go grocery shopping, try this: stick to the outer edges of the store where the fresh foods live: produce, meats, dairy, eggs. That's where you'll find the brain-boosting foods. The inner aisles? That's where most of the processed stuff lurks. Of course, there are exceptions, like frozen vegetables or olive oil, but as a general rule, this trick makes healthy shopping so much easier. I know changing eating habits can feel overwhelming, especially if you've been eating a certain way for decades. So start small. Pick one thing from this video to focus on this week. Maybe it's swapping vegetable oil for olive oil. Maybe it's reading labels for hidden sodium. Small steps create big changes over time. And here's my favorite part: your brain has an amazing ability to heal and adapt at any age. When you start feeding it the right foods, you might notice you remember names more easily, you feel more alert in the afternoons, or you just have a brighter outlook. That's your brain thanking you. So here's what I'd love you to do next. Think about which of these brain-draining foods is most common in your diet, and share in the comments which one you're going to focus on first. Your commitment might inspire someone else to make a positive change too. And if you found this helpful, do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more simple, practical tips to help you thrive after 60. Remember, my friend, aging is inevitable, but cognitive decline isn't. You have so much power to protect your brain and keep it sharp. Here's to making choices that help you live your very best life at any age. Now go enjoy some real, delicious food. Your brain will thank you for it.